For 15 years. I thought my granddaughter wanted nothing to do with me. No calls. No birthday cards. Nothing. I told myself she had her reasons. Young people grow up. They move on. They forget. I believed that. Until last month, when a 26-year-old woman knocked on my front door in Dayton, Ohio, holding a locked tin box. Inside that box were letters, dozens of them, all in her handwriting, all addressed to me, none of them mailed. My son Miles had kept every single one, hidden, in the attic, for 15 years. He had told Karen, his own daughter, that I wanted nothing to do with her, that I had chosen to walk away, that Grandma didn't care. I grabbed the doorframe so hard when I saw her standing there. My knuckles turned completely white. This is my story. My name is Georgia Dixon. I'm 71 years old, and I am going to tell you exactly what happened. I raised Miles by myself. His father, Donald, left when Miles was 4. No goodbye, no explanation, just an empty closet one Tuesday morning and a half-empty box of cereal on the counter. I was 32 years old, working double shifts at the hospital laundry in Dayton, coming home every night to a little boy who asked me, "Is Daddy coming back?" Every night I said the same thing. "I don't know, baby, but I'm here." I was always there. I put Miles in every after-school program I could find. Baseball in the summer, chess club in the fall. I showed up to every parent-teacher conference, every single one, alone. Miles was a smart boy, quiet, watchful, the kind of child who listened more than he talked. His teachers liked him. His coaches liked him. I liked him. I loved him. I still love him. Even now, even after everything. When Miles was 24, he married a woman named Tamara Fields. She was from Cincinnati, educated, polished, the kind of woman who says, "We'll see," when she means no. I tried with Tamara. I genuinely tried. I brought food when she was pregnant. I offered to babysit. I offered to help. I kept my opinions to myself. But Tamara had her way of doing things, and her way didn't leave much room for a mother-in-law from Dayton. The first few years, I still saw Miles regularly. Holidays, birthdays, the occasional Sunday dinner. Then Karen was born. March 14th, 1998. 6 pounds, 4 ounces. The most beautiful baby I had ever seen. I drove to Cincinnati the day she came home from the hospital. I sat in the rocking chair Miles had in the nursery, and I held that little girl for 2 hours straight. She had my nose, Miles' eyes, and a grip on my finger that felt like she already knew who I was. I thought, this is it. This is the beginning of something good. I was wrong. The first year, I saw Karen often, every few weeks. By the time she was 2, it was every couple of months. By the time she was 3, the visits had gotten quiet and strange. Tamara always had a reason. Karen had a cold. They had plans. It wasn't a good weekend. I stopped asking Miles directly because every time I did, he got that flat voice, the one I recognized from when he was a teenager and didn't want to talk. "We'll figure something out, Mom." We never figured anything out. The last time I saw Karen in person, she was 11 years old. It was Thanksgiving. Miles had finally agreed to bring her to Dayton, just for the day. She sat at my kitchen table and ate 2 plates of sweet potato pie. She told me she wanted to be a veterinarian. She showed me a drawing she'd done of a horse. It was a good horse. She had real talent even then. Before they left, Karen hugged me at the front door. She held on longer than I expected. "I'll come back, Grandma Georgia." That was November 2009. The calls for Miles after that got shorter, then further apart, then almost nothing. By 2011, I was leaving voicemails that didn't get returned. sending birthday cards that I couldn't be sure arrived, mailing Christmas gifts with no acknowledgement. I called once and Tamara answered. Her voice was polite. The way a stranger is polite. Miles isn't available right now. Georgia. Not. He'll call you back. Just not available. I want to tell you what that does to a person. Not the big grief. Not the dramatic kind. The quiet kind. The kind where you set 2 plates at the table by habit and then look down at the second one. And remember, I started writing letters to Karen in 2012. She would have been 14. I wrote about ordinary things, the tulips that came up in my yard every spring, a movie I had seen, a recipe I thought she might like one day. I wrote about her father as a boy, the good memories, his first baseball game, the time he built a birdhouse at school, and was so proud of it he carried it home on the bus. I never said anything against Miles. Never said anything against Tamara. I just wanted Karen to know I was thinking of her. I mailed those letters to the Cincinnati address I had. None of them were returned. None of them were answered. I assumed she'd gotten them and didn't know what to say, or that Tamara had decided they weren't appropriate, or that Karen, now a teenager, simply wasn't interested. I told myself any story that didn't include the truth, because the truth was too painful to consider. I didn't learn what Miles had done until Karen told me herself, standing on my porch, last month. But let me piece it together for you the way she pieced it together for me. After the divorce, Miles and Tamara split up in 2015. Karen moved back and forth between them, mostly with her mother. Then, at 17, she moved in with Miles full-time. She said the first few months she was there, she would mention me. Do you ever talk to Grandma Georgia, Dad? And Miles would get quiet. Then he'd say something like, your grandmother made it clear a long time ago that she didn't want to be involved in our lives. Karen, she has her reasons. It's better to leave it alone. Karen told me she believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was her father. But something didn't sit right with her. She said she remembered that Thanksgiving. She remembered how tight I had held her at the front door. She said she couldn't reconcile the grandma from that memory with the woman her father described. So she started asking questions. Quietly, carefully, she asked her mother once. Tamara said only Miles handles his family. That's between them. Not a denial, not a confirmation, just a closed door. Karen went to live with a college roommate after she started at Ohio State in 2016. She was studying, of all things, veterinary medicine, just like she told me she would. At 11 years old, at my kitchen table, she came home to Miles for holidays. And then one summer, this past summer, she was helping him clean out the attic. There were boxes, old tax papers, Miles' college stuff, Tamara's things she hadn't collected, and in the back corner, behind 2 boxes of Christmas decorations, a locked tin box. Karen said she almost left it alone, but the lock was just a small luggage lock, and the key was taped to the bottom of the box. Inside, letters, all addressed to Karen Dixon, all from Georgia Dixon, Dayton, Ohio, dates going back to 2012. The most recent one, 2024. She counted them. 43 letters. 43. Over 12 years. She said she sat on the attic floor for 40 minutes and read every single one. Then she came downstairs and looked at her father. And Miles, my son, did not deny it. He said, I was trying to protect you. From what, Miles? From birthday cards and recipes, and a grandmother who asked about your horse drawing? From what? Here's what broke me most. When Karen was going through those letters in the attic, she found one dated March 14th, 2014, her 16th birthday. I had written to her that week, I had bought her a card, one of the nice ones, thick paper, pale yellow, and tucked two $50 bills inside. I wrote a note that said, Karen, 16 is a big year. I hope it's everything you want it to be. I think about you every single day. Love, always, Grandma Georgia. That letter sat in Miles' attic. The two $50 bills were still folded inside it, untouched. Karen told me she held that envelope for a long time. She said, I had a sweet 16 party, Grandma. A real one. My dad threw it for me. He made a big deal about how it was just going to be our family, our close family. I remember asking if I could invite you. She stopped talking for a moment when she told me that part. Then she said quietly, he told me you had said no. He told her I had said no. I was never asked. No one ever called me. There was no invitation to decline. Miles made that up. He told his own daughter on her 16th birthday that her grandmother had chosen not to come. And then he kept my birthday letter, the one I'd mailed weeks before, locked in a tin box in the attic. So she would never know. I've been a grandmother for 26 years. I have never, in all that time, told a child that someone who loves them doesn't. That is a particular kind of cruelty, and it was done by my son, the boy I raised alone, the boy I worked double shifts for, the boy I showed up for. I am still trying to understand why. Karen thinks it started with Tamara. She believes her mother planted something in Miles early on, a seed of distrust, a story that I was difficult, controlling, that I would interfere, and that over the years, Miles watered that seed until it became something he believed himself. Maybe, I don't know. What I know is this. My son made a choice, not once, over and over again, every year, every letter, every birthday. He chose to keep us apart. Karen graduated from high school in June 2016. I didn't know. Nobody told me. Nobody sent a picture. I found out because I sent a letter that spring. I always sent letters in the spring. I wrote, I imagine you're finishing up your junior year by now, Karen, thinking about colleges. She would have been a senior, and I didn't even know. Karen found that letter in the box too. She said when she read it, she put her hand over her mouth because she realized in that moment that I hadn't known it was her graduation year, that no one had told me, that I had been writing letters into a silence I thought was her silence, but it was his. She graduated on a Saturday in June. The ceremony was at a high school stadium outside Cincinnati. Her father was there. Her mother was there. Both sets of Tamara's parents were there. Karen said she looked out from the line of graduates and scanned the bleachers. She said she didn't even know who she was looking for. She just felt like something was missing. After the ceremony, Miles took photographs. Karen in her cap and gown. Karen with her cousins. Karen with her grandparents. Tamara's parents. No photographs with me. Because I wasn't there. Because I didn't know to be there. I have a framed photograph on my mantel in Dayton. Karen at 11 years old, sitting at my kitchen table with a plate of sweet potato pie, grinning like she didn't have a care in the world. That is the most recent photograph I had of my granddaughter until last month. 15 years. That's how long it had been since I saw her face. She went from a little girl with a horse drawing to a grown woman at my door. And I almost didn't recognize her. Almost. But grandmothers remember. We always remember. It was a Wednesday afternoon, middle of October. I had just come in from pulling the last of my garden, tomatoes and peppers. My hands were dirty. My knees hurt. I heard the knock and figured it was my neighbor Ruth dropping off mail. She does that sometimes, collects it from the box when I'm out back. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door. A young woman, dark hair pulled back, Miles' eyes, my nose, holding a tin box. She said, Grandma Georgia? And I grabbed that doorframe, both hands, hard. My knuckles went white. My vision went strange, not because I was going to faint, because I was trying not to collapse. 15 years, standing right there, on my porch, in a gray jacket, with her father's eyes and my nose and a tin box full of my letters. I don't know how long we stood there. Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe a minute. Then Karen held out the box. I found these, she said. Her voice shook a little. I think you should have them back. I let go of the doorframe. I took the box. And then I said the only thing I could say. Come inside. The coffee's on. We sat at the same kitchen table, the same one she had sat at when she was 11. I made coffee. My hands were shaking. I didn't say anything about that, and neither did she. She told me everything she had told me on the porch in more detail. The attic, the box, the letters, her father's silence when she confronted him. Protecting you, she said it flatly when she repeated his words, like she was still trying to work out what it meant. I didn't say a word against Miles while she spoke. I want you to know that. He is her father. That is her relationship to manage, not mine. But I did tell her the truth. I told her I had written to her every few months since 2012. I told her about the birthday card with the two $50 bills. I told her I had called Miles many times and been told he would figure something out. She listened to all of it. She didn't cry at first. She just listened, her hands around her coffee cup. Then she opened the tin box and placed 2 letters on the table. Read these. The first one was from when she was 16. She had written it after her sweet 16 party. She said she had asked her father to mail it. She'd written it herself, folded it, sealed it, put my Dayton address on the front. She handed it to Miles, and he said he would take it to the post office. He didn't. It was in the box, unopened. The second letter was from when she was 19. She'd been at Ohio State for a year by then. She wrote this one herself and mailed it, or thought she did. She had asked Miles for my address. He gave her an address that was off by 1 digit. Off by 1 digit. That letter came back to her. Wrong address. She had assumed it was her mistake. She assumed she'd written it down wrong. She felt embarrassed and didn't try again. She was 19 years old. She thought she had failed. He gave her a wrong address. I need you to sit with that for a moment, because I had to. A father giving his daughter a deliberately wrong address, so her letter would never reach her grandmother. That was not an accident. That was not forgetfulness. That was a choice. Karen started crying at that point. Not loud, just quiet, looking at the table. I reached across and put my hand on hers. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. We sat like that for a while. 2 women at a kitchen table in Dayton. 15 years between us. And a tin box full of proof that we had both been trying. Karen called her father that evening. She called him from my living room. I stepped out to the back porch to give her privacy. I could hear her voice through the window. Not the words, just the tone. Steady, careful, not yelling. The call lasted about 20 minutes. When she came to the back door, she stood there for a moment before she spoke. He's sorry, she said. Then, after a pause, he said he thought he was doing the right thing. I nodded. I didn't ask her to tell me more. 2 days later, Miles called me. I almost didn't pick up. I won't pretend otherwise. I sat on the couch and looked at his name on my phone screen for a long time. Then I picked up. His voice was different. Not the flat voice. Not the distant voice. Something smaller. Mom. Just that. 1 word. I said, I'm here, Miles. He talked for almost 30 minutes. I mostly listened. He said he had convinced himself that keeping Karen away was protecting her from a complicated relationship, that he and I had our own history, our own unresolved things, that he didn't want her caught in the middle. I asked him one question. Did you ever consider asking Karen what she wanted? Silence. She was a child, Mom. She was a child who asked you to mail her letters to me, Miles. He didn't have an answer for that, and I didn't push, because here's what I know about raising children. They become adults, and adults have to live with the things they did. I don't need Miles to suffer. I am not interested in his suffering. What I needed was for him to see what he had done clearly, without excuses. I don't know if we'll fully repair things. I'm honest about that. What I know is that Karen is sitting at my kitchen table now. Real. Present. Here. And Miles called her the day she visited me. And he is in her life. And that matters more to me than whatever he and I have to work through. She is not going to lose her father over this. I will not let that happen. That's what I told him on the phone. I'm not going to turn Karen against you, Miles. That's not who I am. But she knows the truth now. And so do I. And we're going to have our relationship. You don't get to stop that anymore. He said, I know, Mom. I know. Karen came back the following Saturday. She brought her dog, a big yellow mutt named Biscuit, who immediately tried to steal a tomato from my kitchen counter. I let him. We spent the afternoon together. No agenda. No difficult conversations. Just an afternoon. She told me about veterinary school. She told me about her apartment in Columbus, a second-floor unit with a broken radiator she'd learned to live with. She told me about a horse she had treated recently who had been severely neglected. She told me the horse had recovered. I told her about my garden, about my neighbor Ruth, about the book club I joined 2 years ago even though I was skeptical. I told her about the cherry pie I had perfected over the last decade. I made her a piece right then. She said it was the best pie she'd ever had. I believe her. After we ate, she helped me clean up. She washed. I dried. The way I used to do with my own mother 40 years ago. She asked me about my life, not just the surface things. She asked what had been hard. She asked what had kept me going. And I told her. I told her about the years of silence and what they felt like, not to make her feel guilty. She did not owe me that guilt, but because she asked, and she deserved the honest answer. I told her I had kept writing the letters because it was the only thing that felt real. Every few months, I sat down at my table and I wrote to her. And even though I didn't know if she was getting them, the act of writing felt like proof that she existed, that she was still mine, in some way, even across the distance. She stopped washing the dish in her hand. She turned and looked at me. I have all 43 of them at my apartment now. Grandma, I read them all. I've read some of them twice. I don't have words for what that felt like. I just put down the dish towel, and I held on to her for a good long while, right there in my kitchen, in Dayton, on a Saturday afternoon. Biscuit knocked over the fruit bowl. Neither of us moved. Here's what I want to say to every woman watching this. If you have been cut off from someone you love, and you don't fully understand why, do not stop reaching out. Write the letter. Make the call. Send the card. Even when it comes back unanswered. Even when you don't know if it's being received. Because somewhere in an attic or a drawer or a locked tin box, it may be waiting. The truth has a way of surviving. People keep things they're not supposed to keep. And one day, someone opens a box. And everything you wrote, all those words, all that love, all those ordinary Tuesday mornings when you sat down and wrote her name at the top of a piece of paper, it all comes back. 43 letters, 15 years, one afternoon in my kitchen, and my granddaughter standing at my sink, washing dishes, asking me what kept me going. What kept me going was her. It was always her. My name is Georgia Dixon, I'm 71 years old, and I am not done yet. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're the grandmother who keeps writing letters no one seems to receive, keep writing. You don't know what's waiting in someone's attic.